baby, this is Davey D. And if you ain't talking about champions, then you ain't talking about nothing. You are now tuned in with Lee and Rusty, and trust me, this is the best podcast on WWE Champions this side of the Mississippi.
What's up, WWE Champions Universe? Welcome to Champions Chat, the fastest growing podcast dedicated to the WWE Champions mobile app. I'm Mosh, Rusty Graves, and with me as always, the Chase character Thrasher, Lee Brown. We're the Headbangers. What's up, Lee?
Oh, well, I'm the Chase character that nobody wants because I'm not as good as you. That's what you just said in that.
I'm the freebie. I'm the free-to-play guy.
Who's clearly better. Clearly better.
I don't know that. I have not maxed the MLC yet, so I wouldn't know.
Oh, okay.
It's I think there's 5 days left. Yep. And I'm still chasing solo points, which I will actually be doing a little bit during the show, trying to refresh here and there. This every once in a while I'll play while we record. I don't know if you can tell, but if you ever see me holding my phone and doing it, I'm busted. Otherwise, I just have my browser open and I'm playing the game a little bit.
Wow.
Have you ever done
Secrets of a... No. Well, for one, I'm recording on an iPad. We are working towards me especially getting a little bit more official stuff like the well, it's on my screen, it's right there. On yours, it's probably here or here, but you've got that nice little podcasting microphone. So this weekend, I am officially going on a vacation to Wyoming. We're doing Thanks Chris Birth Give Fest Day because this Saturday, it's we wake up, we're doing Christmas with the family. Lunchtime is Thanksgiving, and then in the evening, we're celebrating my birthday because we're not going to be there for any of those actual days. So we're just doing it like one big day. So,
right.
So the podcasting mic is one of the big things because if you notice, I mean, obviously you can tell on the audio, mine is far inferior to Rusty,
I never
just
noticed.
like the Chase character.
No one's
is
ever
far
noticed.
Inferior to the free character. Nobody's ever noticed.
It's not like I'm on XM HD radio and you're AM radio. It's not like it's that noticeable at all.
Right. Well, that's good. I can hear it, but
it was super noticeable whenever we had a third guy. They had a high quality one.
Captain Jack.
Oh man, if you haven't heard that episode, first of all, go back and listen. Captain Jack, super cool guy, British voice, and he was a classmate of Russell Brand, like kind of a famous actor and a friend of him. So it was really neat to have him on the show. We actually have like an archive of shows that I think hold up really well. Somebody told me the other day that they've been just like replaying old episodes and that they haven't got outdated yet, and that the information that we share, because we started the show during the 6-star meta with flat gym trainers, that like the in-game talk is still very relevant. So I'm very thankful for that, right?
Yeah, we got about a year shelf life on episodes before we got to revisit concepts because maybe they've changed. Or
can you believe we've been doing this since May? Is it May? Was our first episode in May, and now it's the end of November?
I don't know. So 5-6 months, something like that.
It was during whenever the Piper Nevin preview was happening. Like that was when we were just getting started. I think our first episode was like announcing the 6-star meta had arrived and how to adapt to it, how to prepare for it. And I think at the time of our first recording, I don't even think I had a 6-star superstar.
Right.
How far we've come. But you know what, Lee? We've got, I think we've got at least 20 plus episodes under our belt by now. But you know what we've never done an episode about?
What's that?
Probably the most popular format in the entire game, called Feud. Can you believe we've like touched on Feud here and there, but we have never dedicated an entire episode to Feud. And so if you're listening with us, let me give you the show notes for today's show. We're finally talking about Feud, and then we're going to talk about WWE TV if we want to talk Survivor Series, but most importantly, the return of CM Punk. big stuff going on in WWE TV. Did I call him Mo impotently?
You said most impotently, like the word impotent almost.
No.
That
Keep going. No, it's a PG podcast. It's a PG podcast. We got
impotent isn't non-PG.
Moving right along.
Okay.
So maybe you're out there and your feud scores feel less than firm, and you want to give those a boost. Today we're going to be talking about how to get those up and to the right. And I can just tell you, as someone personally who used to average, I think a really good feud score for me, Lee, like when I was firing on all cylinders, I was hitting about 20 million, and I was like so stoked.
Right.
The first time I hit 50 million in my feud Warscore, and I got off of the prize wall. It was like, if you hit 50 million, you got a actual superstar, which was a flat gym trainer. I think it was Tech Stacy. And I was it was like the crowning achievement in my feud career. That's at least to help our audience understand, like, one of us, Lee, has been a proficient feuder for a long time. The other, myself, has been learning how to maximize feud and how to become a consistent high-scoring feuder. So yeah, what you got for us, Lee? Where are we headed today?
Well, I'm going to talk a little bit about some feud tips, but more importantly than that, we have a conversation here with BDC 1288 from the Toxic Mafia faction, who regularly hits closer to 600 million feud score than just whatever the max is. So the max has been 50 to 100 million regularly. So this would be a feuder who at least hits 5 to 6 times the max feud score. But first, let's talk a little bit about you and I's journey. So you already mentioned 20 million was kind of your top end. You'd say probably your average was in like the 5 to 10 million range.
Yeah, it was really paltry and kind of embarrassing, because I was like, I would be like a influential member of the faction who just put up really sad scores, so like my voice mattered. Everyone enjoyed talking to me on Discord. We had a lot of fun together. And then it would come feud time and they would be like, the Emperor has no clothes. Like, this guy is terrible at this game. Why do we trust anything he says?
Yep. And at that time, when we were in the Black Pearl faction, I was one of the officers, you were one of the officers, but we would send out these in-game messages, and every time it was feud, I would send out the exact same thing that I copied and pasted from a notes app that was like, here's how to maximize your feud. So BDC doesn't talk about some of these because he's talking on the high level. So let me hit the hoi polloi, the masses that are going, man, if we hit 5 million, that would be amazing. So first and foremost, biggest tip you can ever have in feud is get your darn promoters, right?
Wait. So when you say get your promoters, you're talking about the IOW, Icons of Wrestling superstars that are feud promoters.
That's right. Yeah, your Powerhouse Triple H, Powerhouse John Cena, I think it's Showboat Bret Hart, Acrobat Charlotte, Trickster Kane. Man, I'm doing this off the top of my head, and I'm leaving somebody
out. And the very elusive Undertaker.
Of course I'm leaving, because that's the one I don't have. And my goodness, my Powerhouse roster has become insane, and everything else is secondary. And
Imagine if you could get 50% more Warscore on your Powerhouses, though.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna talk about that.
That's what the Undertaker can do for you.
I'm on that grind. But the trick is, I hated the idea of grinding stipulations so much that I didn't start doing it till about 2.5 months ago. So
there it is.
I have a year ahead.
You said it.
Yep.
So to get the feud promoters first, and this is from the, I don't know, maybe even a free to play perspective is get those stip tours, promoters to boost your stip. So you may think, man, it's going to take me a year to chase this one particular feud promoter. But if you get that IOW stipulation tour promoter on your guy, right? Let's say, for example, right? Heartbreak Kid, IOW promoter, he boosts, I think he boosts strikers, right? Let's say I think he's striker. I don't want to give the wrong, it's either striker, I think it's striker. And so if you're doing the red tour, right, and you got him on Butch, suddenly you don't need Butch to be your most powerful striker. You just need him to be your best red spammer and to have everything that Butch does count for double, right? I think he even goes up to like 100%, 150% more stip score. So at a base, I'm going to kick it back to you, but to say, the road to feud promoters actually starts, or potentially starts, on the road from the stip promoters, boosting that score to accelerate landing those feud promoters.
That's right. And in order to bump up your feud promoters, you need the tokens that are in the faction shop, the gold, the silver, and the bronze IOW tokens, because especially the gold, I know we always talk, you need to be getting the boss shop every day. You need to hit the gold IOW tokens every single day, in your faction shop, because you're never going to have enough of them.
If you're listening right now, stop buying coins, stop buying belts, straps, just all that
Charlotte
other stuff.
Gear.
Yeah, that's the that
They're
is
distraction.
Now, hang on, and you're right. That might be fun to chase, but this episode we're specifically talking about how to up your feud score. So if we say it's a distraction from making you better in feud. So I just want to be super clear about that. Like chasing those gear coins, like just don't. If you're trying to be a better feuder, stop buying anything other than feud IOW tokens and
boss
we'll also
battle
say
tokens.
Boss battle tokens.
Yeah, agreed. So I didn't experiment this last feud. It wasn't Flash feud. We all expected it to be. So normally it would be 75 million, whereas normal feud is 50. This one was actually 100 million, but there was a plate up for grabs. So two conversations going at once here, but let me hit the sidetrack real quick. Is if you're maxing your feuds, like there are some decent rewards at times. At least there's striker tokens. Famously, every stinking feud is striker tokens. They're working on that, I think.
Interesting.
But for sure, there's things like plates now in there. There's moment bags sometimes. There's these things that you're going, oh, that's whale level stuff for some people. That feels out of reach for some people. And yet this last one with that plate bag, you could have gotten a Titan plate. You could have gotten pretty much anything except for the drip plate and the Ghostbusters plate seem to be in there. So you're getting things that could literally change your roster trajectory for the foreseeable future. So know that that's what it is. But I didn't experiment. My best feud character, and especially this last time, is Hall of Fame Triple H. I've got the Piper plate on him. He's guaranteed to hit. There's not really anything that nerfs his moves. He's always hitting at least 12 to 17 million turn one, period. So I can usually run through. Yeah, I see that face.
This is the opponent when the Hall of Fame Triple H pops up on screen. It's maddening. The double sub. He just subs you out, man. It's so frustrating. Or at least in Showdown.
Oh,
like,
okay. In Showdown,
like red, yellow, green. Anyway, yeah. Like I just keep running into this sub lock mode. Triple H.
Okay. Well, so if you're running him offensively, then you do the Piper plate build. But like I say, it seems to be unnerfable. There's not a mode I've run into yet where I haven't started with my moves loaded. So anyway, the experiment to that is I don't have IOW Undertaker. He's the only one I'm missing. He's the only one that isn't at least pretty well leveled up. So that means that theoretically using Hall of Fame Triple H is a bad move for me because I'm not getting those bonus points. But after the initial bonus, the first time you use the character, you get 300K bonus. So after that initial bonus was aside, I used Triple H for a couple feuds back to back to back to back, and I was still hitting around 500,000 per engagement per match with Hall of Fame Triple H with no promoters whatsoever. So now you think about that. If I were to have that Hall of Fame Triple H where I would have the IOW taker on top of him, you're talking 700-800K per match. I'm almost hitting a million Warscore per engagement, per little match that I'm doing within the feud with that one character. Now we're going to talk about some strategy that, you spread out and do it a little bit differently, but that's if I was just using one character with a feud promoter against 6 stars. That's the type of points you're getting just for that.
And let me just say this, put a pin in this. We are going to come at you with a ton of information today. It's okay to pause and back up and replay some of the things that Lee will be sharing, some of the notes that BDC gave us, some of the questions I have. Like, today is a fire hydrant episode. So if you try to take a sip and one listen, and that's actually what happened to my beard, Lee. I watched one, I had a nice full beard, all the way around beard. I watched one YouTube video one time and thought suddenly I was an expert and how to home groom my beard, and I buzzed it way too low. And you know what I had to go do? First of all, I had to just trim it all down so that it matched and have just a thick goatee. But then I had to go watch that same stupid video about 5 times before I realized, oh, that's what I did wrong. That's why I now look like an idiot that has a huge goatee from 1990, Captain Lou going on. So
oh man, if you put the rubber bands in there, I'm just saying, you can pull a Mario.
But back to your note, I just wanted to say, you guys, today's episode is probably gonna be one you got to re-listen to or rewatch. Okay,
that's right. So my note's not BDC's yet. His are higher level than mine, but first thing, IOW promoters, which means you're doing your STIP tours, which means you're, getting your STIP IOW promoters up, in order so that you can kind of keep going with that. And The Undertaker in particular is only available on the weekend bonus stipulation tour that drops on Sunday and is available, at least in US time zones. It drops on Sunday. It's available into Monday. It resets once in that time frame, so you can hit it twice, basically. But here's what you're going to do, and I may make a video towards this. Shout out to Merrick.
Are we allowed to share this? Are we? These are like, this is kind of the dark side of the game. Are we allowed to share these hacks or not?
Oh yeah, we have a section on our YouTube channel called Hack the Game. Like nice. That's where this video's.
Oh no!
Maybe I can, if I had the video on screen at the same time, we get some Twitch abilities going. But okay, so here's what you do. You go in for the weekend stipulation tours to get IOW Undertaker. You need 2 characters. You need Honky Tonk Man, and you need the Showboat. Oh wow, look at that! You put a weird thumbs up on screen.
Look at that! And then when I point too, something else happened when I pointed. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Mine just goes like this.
I don't know if this is going to be in the video file or not, but and if you're listening on audio, you're like, what are they doing?
What the heck are they doing? All right, so you need Otis anyway. Showboat Otis, Honky Tonk Man, Otis
Striker Honky Tonk Man.
Striker Honky Tonk Man, yeah, because Otis beats the one that's chaotic Showboats. Honky Tonk Man beats the one that's defensive Strikers. And then what you do is this: you go to whichever tour you have enough currency to get into, right? Because you got to get those specialty tickets, which you get from doing regular STIP tours and then buying them from the regular STIP tour shop. Then you go into the special weekend STIP tour. You beat whichever mode you can. Hopefully it's at least the middle. I tend to just do the middle one. But if you have enough, not prize wall, but tokens, tickets, whatever, to get into the hell mode one, then you do that. You do it one time, just once. Then you go back into it with your currency, with your tickets, and you auto clear using only the lowest auto clear ticket, because it gives you everything that you just did. So it'll give you a repeat of your highest score. So you beat it one time, Then you go back through and auto clear it as many times as your tickets will allow. And that saves hours of work, period. Like, thank you, Merrick's. That saved me. That is why I'm actually doing the weekend stip tours now, because I just did not like having to spam them over and over again. But I can auto clear them. I'm good. I do it one time, boom, and then I can just get the rewards over and over again as long as I've got auto clear tickets. So there's a hack for you.
Yeah, and until you run out of the currency for the event,
right,
you have to keep buying into the currency,
right. Which is the stip tour. Yeah.
And what I did, I don't know if this was your path to it too, Lee. I unlocked all of the feud promoters that I could until all of my currency strictly went to buying weekend marquee stip tour tickets. Right. So I unlocked the 3 that I could from the stip shop. And now everything it's a laser focus. Now all of my currency is going into the Undertaker chase. And do you know that you can actually spin those marquee coins during the week? It's not just the weekend shop. Did you know that?
I heard El Nino posted something about that, and I have not been able to find it since.
It's
and
true.
I've not been able to go back.
So here's what you do. That's what I was like, are we allowed to share?
You got one for us.
So if you just choose any superstar, right? Open, go to your roster, go to any superstar of your choosing, right? And then once you have your superstar open, you are going to go to your entourage. Like you're going to equip a promoter in your entourage, right? So you've got to open your roster, you've got to open your superstar, you've gone to your entourage, and you'll notice above the promoter, there'll be a button that says collection. If you click collection, you'll get, does this even, okay, it'll look just like this on screen, right? And if you go down to the Undertaker, you'll see the word find under him. And if you click find, it will open up the marquee stip shop. Today is a Thursday, right? So I can go in there and I can look at this. Ready? On a Thursday, just bought those Undertaker shards, and it resets every day. So at 19 hours, it's going to reset. So on Friday, I can do it again. I've got 3,000 marquee coins. So I'm working on getting that Undertaker all throughout the week with all the things I've harvested from the weekend tour.
Booyah. That is awesome.
I knew something about the game that Lee didn't know. Let the record show. This is monumental for Champions Chat. It may never happen again, guys. It may never happen again. Because everything else I've
snip this out. So
everything else I've ever discovered about the game, Lee's like, oh yeah, I know. I saw that on Professor Stream like 5 years ago. And I'm like, oh, come on, steal my thunder. So
Davey
back to you, Lee.
Yeah, Goldie said it. No,
exactly.
No. That's the okay. So getting Undertaker, getting your IOWs, getting those on there. Just think about the reality that they give you 50% more war score. You realize you pay if you're wanting that. Otherwise, you pay to get the feud steps to get that same thing. So that's just free. Well, it's not free. It's costing you grind to get there as opposed to costing you money. But the second thing I have for you is your feud steps, right? Every time they tend to give out 2 feud steps. One of them comes through the portal, usually. It's typically one of the stamp claim rewards, and you have to claim the day before it. So you need to be on the stamp claims every single day. Make sure you don't miss anything. The other one is usually in the hell mode, the 3rd node up as a CSS reward. So you do have to have that CSS in order to get it, but they tend, not always, but they tend to put it behind CSS that are fairly achievable for a lot of the player base. The problem is just it's hell mode, so you might not have that character built up. So it gives you reason to build that character up to win
and usually
that. And
to 5-star bronze, right, Lee? I mean, usually it's like a 5-star bronze build. that you can get, because it's not the final boss of Hell Mode typically.
No.
It's usually like maybe level 2 or 3 of Hell Mode Tour.
Yeah, it's usually 3 and there's usually 5. So it's kind of like right in the middle of Hell Mode, basically. So getting those feud steps, though, and equipping them, obviously, that's going to be one of your big things, because that gives you 20% at least, typically more war score. And if you would like to spend, for those who are out there, it's $10. You get all 4, and that takes you up to 50%. So you get a 20 to 50% boost. The next step that plays onto that as well is then your line bonuses. They'll have line bonuses. Usually the bottom row is somewhat achievable. Go ahead.
I have a step question, and this is something that I've been learning in the game. Is apparently there is it's an in-game purchase only. It's not a portal purchase. It's only in-game, and it's called a weekly collector's. I think it's called the weekly collector's loot, and it comes with 2 loot coins. It comes with, I think, some sort of balloons behind me just flew up on Zoom. So this is a very festive episode. If you're watching online, I hope you get to see the balloons that just flew up. So it's called the weekly collector's loot. I think it's $4.99 American, US American, right? And what my faction members have taught me is that if you buy that, it's usually it's a weekend purchase. If you buy it on Friday, and you're getting the coin pulls, or you're getting the loot coins and doing a pull. But if you do it every week, at the end of the MLC for the flash feuds, I think you'll have all 4 sets of steps or something like that. You get a huge bonus if you do that, which actually worked out for me. This MLC, I've been buying it weekly. And so for last weekend's feud, I had 50% war score boost. I had all 4 sets of steps. And I want to say I had only bought 3 of the weekly collectors because of the way the calendar fell. But the other people were furious. Like, where's our steps? Where's our, they were expecting the stamp card steps that I was no longer dependent on because I had bought that. Is that something that you do? Are you aware of all of that? Or is that?
I'm very aware of it. I've done it one time. Again, this is back to our budget management conversation. That is theoretically $20. This month it was $15 because of the way it fell. It's possible that in future events, if they go to feud being first and third as opposed to the last week, then it's $15. But either way, $15 to $20, and you're getting that as a bonus for your other purchases. If it's $15, it's only $5 more than the $10 pack that has all 4 of them. So it's a pretty decent value. It's just, for me, I have $60 a month, except for special occasions. I saved for Black Friday. I've got birthday coming up in December. So with my $60 a month, I'm buying the King of Kings pass. So now it's $50. Do I want to take another $20 from that and only have $30 for pulls? Pulls are my favorite thing. So I don't prioritize that. And I can max the feud with only 2 steps pretty handily,
But so, would you say that's really good? It's a really good purchase for someone who has maybe a fledgling feud score and is like, I just want to be a big dog in my faction. Like, I just want to break into the top 10, top 20 in my faction. I mean, it feels like almost an auto pick for somebody that's really desperate to get their score up.
Right. Yeah. We're not telling you to spend, but if you do spend $15, $20 to get higher on feud, you're thinking, okay, well, I'm not doing pulls then because of that, if you have a budget like I do. But like this last round, if they had put the plate that I got on the prize wall, I would have expected to pay $100 or more for it just for that plate. And functionally, I got it for nothing because I'd maxed the feud without him. But I mean, $15 for that plate would have been well worth it.
Do you know why I'm smiling so big right now? I just remembered that the loot coin that I got on that last collector's pack was the one that I pulled Judgment Day Showboat Finn Balor on. So it was a single pull from the $4.99 collector's pack. So not only did I get 50% feud score, I got my best showboat on my roster that I immediately YOLO'd to the moon and was able to use that week in feud. So it was like, yeah, baby. One for the little guy. One for the little guy, you know? It was so cool. It was so cool.
Well, I'm not jealous, and this is not in retaliation in any way, because you got the showboat Finn that I've been chasing.
You're going here, aren't you?
Maybe one of us on a single pull pulled Striker Cody this week. I don't know which one of us that was. That you, Rusty?
Maybe one of us is awesome and has the world's best luck, and the other is Charlie Brown, constantly kicking the can down the street, hoping something good's going to fall his way.
I know, I was kicking the can, but no, I
am the can kicker, sir.
I would trade you my Cody Rhodes for your showboat Finn. My showboat army sucks. It used to be my best class. I would gladly
take that trade. Like, I would take that trade in a second. So if anyone from if our friends at Scopely are listening, like, if we could do in-game roster trades, the Champions Chat channel supports that move. We're all for it, you know?
Well, it gets slippery slope fallacy time.
I know
your logical fallacies. Ooh, that could really screw up the economy of the game.
But if you would let me trade, because collusion is a real thing. So somebody could just give you their best thing for nothing. It's almost like fantasy football. There would have to be some sort of like approval system that it was that the trade was commensurate and fair. Yeah.
Think about Grant Camping. Like last month, we talked about Grant Camping 2.0, which was better than Grant Camping, the return. But like, think about that. So many people opened up new accounts just to do those loot pulls and decide if they got a really good character, if that was going to be their new account. Imagine if you could just open up account, do free loot pulls when they come up like that, when there's glitches and errors, and then all of a sudden trade. Like, I think from Grant Camping, the big win would have been Invisible Cena. Like, imagine you got Invisible Cena on one of yours and you just trade it to your main account. Then, like, you're not supposed to do that anyway. Like multiple accounts, but
if they're both yours, if they're, I think I see it. I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying.
Slippery slope fallacy, but it's not entirely a fallacy.
But that's one of the one dilemma with this game is that when we want good things to happen, but not be exploited to ruin the game. Like that's where we have this catch-22, you know, if you will. Like, we want the community to prosper greatly, and yet not ruin the game itself, not for the building not to collapse in on itself, you know. So it's a dilemma for sure. You got to be generous.
And I can understand why they don't allow it.
Right, sure, it makes sense.
It would screw up so much.
Last night, I even said I wish I could play the game on two screens, because I could do my showdown on my laptop, and then I could be doing these tours on my phone. And I'm sure that would create, then you're getting double feud points, and that would be completely unfair. So there's got to be, what's
there has
fair?
To be limitations.
For sure.
So back to your point. So your steps are your second big thing, whether you buy them, whether you get the free 2 of them. Now, if you talk about, you've got your promoters, you've got your steps, then the next thing is line bonuses. The bottom line is fairly accessible to most. It's not always, but usually it's close, right? Like, usually that's fair. The middle line bonus is usually unaccessible to most, and then the top line bonus is just, if you got the weekend character, you know, congratulations, you get an extra bonus, and all of those add Warscore percentage boosts. So 10% on the bottom, usually 20% in the middle, 50% on top, as of this recording. So now let's talk about, you've got a maxed out feud promoter, that's up to 50%. You've got your steps, that's up to 50%. And let's say you fill the middle line, that's 20%. So now you've got 120% for doing the same exact thing that you were already doing with the same timeline you were already doing it in. You're doing 120% more doing the same thing. So suddenly your time became more effective, efficient, and you're getting it done faster.
It's like the old dad phrase, work smarter, not harder. Right?
That's right.
Like you're really making your roster work for you. And it's the same. Basically, the engine is the same size if you're using like a truck's towing capacity, right? The engine's the same, and yet you're able to haul exponentially more cargo. You're able to move
right.
so much more Warscore along with the same size truck you've been driving this whole time. But now you're playing the game with a level of, I would say, intelligence, but also truly investment. You're investing in yourself. And that's where I was a very poor feuder, because I didn't like feud, because I lost a lot of the times because I hadn't made the investment in my roster to win feuds. And I did, and I broke a lot of the etiquette, which we'll probably talk about. But I would just jump into a room with somebody with a talent level way greater than my own and wonder, why am I getting slaughtered?
Why am I getting whooped?
Yeah. It's because because the algorithm is saying my talent level should be about 100,000 K higher than it actually is, and so I'm getting handed the L's. So
well, let's switch. Maybe this is kind of a community spotlight, but not quite, because we are going to have BDC on it sometime. But BDC 1288 sent this list of 3 plus some bonus thoughts for if you want to feud at a high level. So we're not just talking about the basics now. We're talking about really ramping it up. He says, well, first and foremost, run as high of a roster as you comfortably can and get the line bonuses when you can. So to your point, comfortably can means if you're putting in 6-star bronze and you max every 6-star bronze slot, you might get matched with 6-star silvers. And if you can't beat 6-star silvers with your roster, that's not comfortable, right? But if you've got like a 1 or 2 6-star silvers, if you've got somebody that's an ace in the hole, like my Hall of Fame Triple H, like a William Regal, like a Solo Sikoa, whoever, there's several characters that you can whoop anybody with. Showboat Undertaker, Showboat Carmelo, there's a number of them. Then you're fine, right? But be comfortable with it. Don't put in all 6 stars and then be surprised when you're hitting 6 silvers. And if you're putting in 6 silvers, just make sure that you have at least one character in there that can beat everybody.
Right.
Everybody. So that's first. Thoughts there before we move on is we're still on his initial thoughts, not his numbered thoughts.
No, I mean, I think, I trust this info because the results are there. So really tune in close. Don't discredit anything that Lee's saying right now from our source that consistently is putting up, over 500 million in feuds. Like, this is really, turn your ear, incline your ear to listen. Oh, man.
Yeah. So here's his intro paragraph. The second part of it is, second is speed. You want to be able to get out of matches quickly, and there are a few things that can help you with that. So now we're on his numbered pieces. Number 1, make sure you have the appropriate MP trainers so your entire feud roster is set up to go turn 1. Having to switch trainers before the match wastes a ton of time and sets you back. So this is a preparation thought.
That's me. I probably spend more time switching trainers than I do in the feud. Like, crap. So I'm taking notes here. Please just know that I think the audience is all going like, oh no, I do this. This is what I do. Right. This is how I play the game. Crap.
Yeah. And this could be the difference in millions of Warscore, literally. So number 2, know the characters in game, even if you don't have them. Knowing what you're going against can help prevent getting surprised by stun locks, subs, and etc. So here's a good example on the reverse. I've started using my Terry Funk now. I've finally got him 6-star, and if you've heard me say it before, you'll hear me say it again. I don't consider characters basically usable until they're at least 6-star, and I'm getting to where I don't really use them unless they're 6 silver, and that's just me. That's just a quirk I have as a 3 on the Enneagram, whatever it is. But I finally start using Terry Funk, right? And I'm going up against somebody, and they make trap gems. Terry Funk is the trap gem killer, kind of like how Bob Orton is the powerhouse killer. And it wasn't KO, but it was somebody else, or maybe it was KO that I wasn't thinking about. I just matched them up, and I'm like, boom, I'm going to go in there. They throw out their trap gems. and Terry Funk not only takes their trap gems from them, but also takes their turns, so that I then get an immediate turn, and suddenly I'm whooping on them. Now, put that in reverse. Famously, Rusty, your strongest character is Powerhouse KO, 6 silver with all the tricks.
Yeah.
And you go in there and you're like, I'm going to whoop this Terry Funk. And you put down your traps, and all of a sudden, your most powerful part of your character is gone.
Yeah, I hide from Terry Funk. I avoid him. I'm dodging and weaving the Terry Funk for sure.
Yeah, so knowing the character, so I don't have KO, so I wasn't thinking about him being a trap gem guy, but I just happened to use the advantage of Terry Funk without even realizing it. And now going into feuds, if I put Terry Funk in my roster, if I see a KO, I just smile and go, see ya. See ya. Right?
See, that's kind of cool though, if you don't have him, right? And so then you can just slaughter him, like that's, you know, retribution. Yeah,
not Mustafa Ali's group. Yeah,
one guy legit that I am. We said this earlier, but like Hall of Fame Triple H is scary business for me, because if he's not yellow gem blowout, he's sub lock blowout, and like you just don't get any MP for the match. You just don't. There's no MP coming your way. So if you're Ghostbuster Cena, cool. If you're not, run for the hills.
Right. So. Yeah. Well, in this last feud, even though my Apollo doesn't have the Piper plate, I threw my 6 silver Apollo with triple blue into my feud. Didn't use him a single time, but I knew that my opponents were going to curse my name, because if you don't kill him turn 1, he just locks you into this loop where you just don't end up damaging him enough. And you could literally spend 20 minutes just trying to fight that Apollo. So know the characters.
LA Knight's like that too.
You need it. Yeah.
I was Judgment Day Balor trying to take on LA Knight. And it's like, this reminds me of the 3-star meta of dueling Eddie Guerreros.
Right. Over and over for hours.
Yeah.
All right. His third point here: run with someone that is a faction mate who can keep pace with you and have great communication. The second part of that is imperative. Both you and your partner will benefit from getting in and out of brawls as quickly as possible, and good communication can make that easier to achieve. So here's my thoughts on this one, and then I've got his last thoughts. Is prior to this last few runs of feud, I just pair up with whoever, because, you know, especially in a sub 100 faction, not everybody was feuding. So it was like, get in there, get going. And as I got better at the game, now there's certainly times I've been the problem with this. It's me. Hi. But there were times where I would sit there and I would have killed my entire lineup within about 10 minutes. And then my partner takes the full 30. Now, I am one. I know I just made some people's hair on the back of their neck go up and their faces got red, because that is for them. I will say, I don't think you should get mad at somebody for taking their full feud time. I get that's not a top faction comment. I get that higher level players are going, yes, you do. If they're not done in 5 minutes, you murder them. You get them out of your faction. You do whatever. But the reality is sometimes people just get stuck. Like, you know, like we said, in LA Knight, whatever, maybe you get one match where it just doesn't go your way for some reason, and you're sitting there for 10 or 15 minutes. I don't get mad at that. However, I am starting to appreciate in these higher level feuds with a higher level faction now, the idea of being done in 10 minutes. 10 to 15 minutes is what your goalpost usually is. Like, you get it done, you move on, right? And so even though there's a 30-minute timer, if you can get in and out in a third of that time, that means in the time that somebody else is getting one set of feud done, you've got 2 to 3 sets of feud done. You are using your same amount of time more efficiently again.
I think somebody on the development team listened to our episode where I talked about the hilarity of long feuds and using my acro Eddie and how like because this past weekend, who should I find myself in the lobby with? None other than old Lee over here.
Right.
And who is the CSS that day? Eddie Guerrero. And so sure enough, Lee finished his line so fast, and I'm screenshotting me in a match of Acro Eddie versus Acro Eddie.
You should have used Hall of Fame, by the way. But yes,
I was dying. The guy was like, "This is my chance. I can bring back from the dead the old Eddie Guerrero. He's back. He's terrible. He's terrible. He's so long." And then Lee is the person who had to suffer and watch me send him screenshots of the match that I was in that was taking forever while he sat in the lobby twiddling his thumbs. So there's somebody out there, Muscovy's like, man, we got to get this guy. We got to get
it. Yeah. Right. All right. Last thoughts of BDC, and then we'll close out with some of our own thoughts here. But he says the most important part, and I know it sounds cheesy, is have fun. At the end of the day, it's a game. Getting stressed out or uptight can cause you to make mistakes. Just have fun with it and try to run with people who have the same mindsets. Mistakes happen, and becoming overwhelmed will set you back. If a mistake happens, just see what you can do to correct it. And once you do, move on to the next match and forget it. So those are the thoughts and tips from one of the higher level players in the feud game. 500 million plus every time. You know, he's in the conversation for that top echelon, right? And this is what he's telling the community to pay attention to. So go back, rewind this episode if you missed it, listen to those again, because I think there's some money in that. Like, time is money, right? And he just saved you a lot of time on your weekend every other week. So there you go.
Let me add one note. I think I had an intelligent thought after we moved on from it, is this. I try to abide by those guidelines, certainly. One thing on point 2 about finding someone to be a consistent feud partner with all throughout the feud, I think if you're out there and you're wondering, well, what parameters should I be using to evaluate who should be my feud partner? I'll say this. I have had the most success. Now I'm feuding with a lot higher scores with promoters, 80 to 100 million, range now, but still not. And a lot of times I can't feud on Sundays. Basically,
I can't.
The score I get is usually minus Sunday. I'll say that.
Same.
But the window that works for me is about a 20K swing, either higher or lower, as my feud mate. So if I'm running 100K talent feud lineup, I'm looking for someone in the 80 to 120K window. And that because then we'll be matched up. We'll get opponents that we can handle, right? And both of us, regardless of, maybe Lee's running, and there are exceptions. Maybe he's running 150K talent roster, and I'm running 100K, and there might be one or two I have to say tag, clean up aisle 2. I can't handle this guy, right? But what that does, if we've got communication, he knows that he's going to get some bonus points from old Rusty. If I'm moving too slow and he's got to clean it up, at least he's getting the reward. At least he's getting the payout of additional of my line as well, versus just torture of watching me Eddie Guerrero on and on and on and doing nothing. So, but I think that's, like I said, 20K swing higher or lower seems very fair. You can probably gamble and go with a 50K swing if you're competent and if you know your partner and if you're communicating.
Agreed. And I think that's kind of the last thing I wanted to end on anyway. So you're right in this. So let's talk CSS, because every feud there's CSS, and they're usually characters that most people haven't built up. Sometimes they have, but there's at least a few in there that, JBL was in the last one. If you don't have a top tier JBL, you're struggling. So if you build a 150 to 250K feud lineup and then throw in your 8K JBL, you're probably going to run into guys who are only 6-star silver, and your JBL's just sitting there as fodder. So when you're matching up, talk to somebody. We talked. BDC said communication, right? Get on your Discord, man. If you feel comfortable enough sharing cell phones, get on a phone call or whatever. If you both run a minimal roster, I'm talking 50K or less with your CSS, you're both going to theoretically be matched up with people who are running those, and you can wipe out your CSS quick.
Yeah, I was going to ask
that helps a lot.
Do you try to compound all those CSS into one or two feuds? Like, do you try to get? I mean, are you running super low talent all together, and are you pacing with a partner that's doing the same?
I haven't been, but I need to start, because that's been this is from my pain, not from my progress. I would say that I tend to mix in my CSS with my high level characters and just hope that the other person has done the same. And it works out about 15-20% of the time, right? Usually I'm facing all 6-star silvers. And for where I'm at, I want to face 6-star silvers. That's where the biggest bonus points are, because you get points per damage done. And Triple H is doing 20 million, Braun's doing 20 million. I'm going to put a video out on Tatanka with the plate I just got, where he's going to be doing 20 million turn one, so you're getting a lot of points for that. So
Tatanka sounds legit now.
Oh yeah. Well, you'll see it. You'll see.
Well, I would say this, the community was kind of low on Tatanka when he was like the chase. Right. But I think they got it wrong. At least the game has supported that superstar, that poster, right? And now the game warrants a different look at Tatanka, I think, right?
Absolutely. Well, and it's the argument we go back to all the time. You got to have the right tips and tricks. You got to have the right medals, blah, blah, blah. So I'm sitting with no Fury 2 on him yet, but Fury 1, I do have a strap that has bonus for gem damage. But the biggest trick is I got the Core Jade plate from this last feud, and it buffs 100% red gem damage. He does multiplies that are red from countdowns, and that all plays together. And then I put my my sheriff's badge. So I was going to put my sheriff's badge on Butch. I've officially abandoned Butch for that project. So now Tatanka's dropping additional
You pulled a Ridge
damage.
Holland, because do you know, are you aware of this? In WWE TV, Ridge walked out on Butch the other night in a match. So in a tag match, Butch is in ring, and Ridge just drops down off the apron and does like the forget about you and starts walking down the runway backstage. And Butch is like, what is this?
Yeah,
and
gotcha.
Part of me was like, is this story, or is this like real? Like, is this what's happening? Like, are they really going to separate the brutes? And what sense does that even make? And if it is, and maybe this is time to head into WWE TV. But
give me one minute to finish what I was on, then we will. Absolutely.
So all that to say, the abandonment of Butch is something that is now very visible in the WWE universe, and I hope where it goes.
I did that too.
I hope where it goes is that he just goes absent for a while and comes back as Pete Dunne. Like, I just hope he's we scrapped this whole Sheamus's Hitman idea, and now we have two legitimate guys on their own that we can work with.
Right. Well, Butch is the Marty Jannetty of that group, but no, I'm sorry. Rich Holland is the Marty.
Okay, thank you. I was like, no, what? No,
wait a second. No.
Pete Dunne Butch can be Pete Dunne. He can be in. So he's so versatile. He can be in so many different. He can be in a tag. He can tell story well. He can be a heel. He's a great small superstar that can do a lot of things, like a Gargano and like a Ciampa.
Yeah.
Like, I love those guys. So anyway.
Right. Okay, so finishing up the feud conversation, here's the last thing I want to say with it is manage your roster to CSS. So if you're going to do your CSS first, because some people like doing that, run a small roster, but make sure you run with somebody else who's running a small roster so that you encounter 3-star, 4-star, and low 5 stars. Get your CSS done, go. If you want to risk it, you can combine them together. But from my experience, that tends to be a bigger challenge. And then run your highest roster possible. So either start with CSS or end with CSS, it doesn't matter, but do your low level CSS with a low level, roster, like a nerfed setup, and run with someone who's also equal. Because if you go in with someone who's got a 250K roster and you're coming in with an 18K roster, chances are you're still going to mostly see 6 and 6 silvers. The other piece I would say with that is, to the community, I know this is going to go against the top factions in terms of their plans and plays. What I like to do, just to be kind, is once I finish my CSS out and I don't need those spots anymore, I put a lower character in at least one spot, so that if I do run across someone who's running a mixed setup, they can get their CSS points. I know that that's not competitive, but it is kind. So that's my thought, is if you're willing to help the community, just run one Nia Jax or one, what's his name? Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff.
Paul Orndorff.
Nobody
we both
is
said
built.
it.
We both thought it. Yay, the 3 count. We do the thing. Anyway.
He's terrible.
Yeah, and help each other out. So, Rusty, transition us.
Well, for those of you who only tune in for this part of the show, this is where we talk about what's happening in the WWE TV universe, both Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and the premium live events. Lee, last Saturday was Survivor Series, and we saw 3 huge returns. First was Ron Killings. R-Truth is back. The return of R-Truth, the 48-time 24/7 champion. The second was Randy Orton, came back during the War Games match. And the third, War Games. And the third, with a lot of speculation, with no credibility behind the rumors, we thought CM Punk is back in the WWE universe. 3 huge returns. Which of those returns will have the biggest impact? Which will get the most TV time? Which will you care about and you're excited to see?
Clearly R-Truth. I mean, clearly.
Absolutely.
No, I mean, I joke, but the comedy, I know Wrestle Talk, Pete Quinnell downplayed it in his review of Raw, but the comedy segment with R-Truth, I was like, I'm glad this is back. Like, this is the worst kind of dad jokes, but because they lean into the fact that it's so bad, it's so good.
He was looking for Jelly Roll, and the country singer Jelly Roll was there. Yeah. By the way, in that match later in the night, Jelly Roll pushed the soul out of Dominic Mysterio. He shoved him so hard that I thought Dominic's spirit left his body, like in a ghost movie. Like, it was incredible to see that.
Clearly the answer is CM Punk, though. I mean, I know it's funny because, and I'm not like building myself up on this or whatever, but I just thought it was so clear that if CM Punk did not come back, I legitimately was texting my buddy Graham Kelly, and I told him, like, if CM Punk doesn't come back, I guarantee Chicago will burn that building to the ground. Like, I was so convinced of it. And then I saw
Remember the poster? If Cena wins, we riot. Remember that old poster? Right. If Cena wins, we riot. That's why I thought if Orton is the lone return, we riot. So
I mean, it would have been fine. I mean, Orton's amazing. Like, and that RKO, let's just call it out. That was one of the best RKOs I've ever seen in my life.
Incredible timing. Off the top of the cage, they threw McDonough. He swan dove into Randy Orton's arms and received an RKO that was, I mean, out of nowhere, but really it was unprecedented. I don't think that had ever been done. And that's a dangerous move, to grab somebody's neck mid-air
when they're falling 15 feet
and try to safely land them under your arms. He had on a neck brace the next night, and I thought, maybe that's real. Maybe he really earned that neck brace last night. So
I don't think it was, but then okay, so let's talk. I mean, obviously it's Randy Orton.
So if Punk is back, but what do they do with Punk, Lee? What do they put him in who do they put him in a program with?
Oh, well, that part's easy, but let me just go first with imagine what it's like to be Randy Orton right now. You've been out for 18 months. You're one of the greatest of all time, even though I find him mostly boring. But you're one of the greatest of all time. And CM Punk showing up in street clothes at the top of the ramp and waving is all anybody wants to talk about. That RKO is going to be in the highlight reel for the rest of his career and beyond. And yet what really gets talked about is CM Punk stood and went, "Hey, all, how you doing? Clobber time."
The next this week on Raw, Mommy Rhea Ripley came out and used that angle in her promo, and she told Randy Orton, "Imagine getting upstaged by CM Punk after 2 years and you return." And she tried to use that as an angle of like, are you with us or are you against us? Like, are you a free agent? Do you want to join the Judgment Day? Or are you now our enemy? Like, we're going to attack you if you're not interested. Which was pretty brilliant writing, I think, to actually call it out. Yeah. You think Punk?
Yeah, I think they're leaning into it big. Yeah.
Is Punk headed to the heel side or to the face side of things?
Well, they played it really nice because he did the whole, I know it sounds cheesy, guys, but I'm home. Like it's when The Rock came back after 7 years. This is almost parallel in a lot of ways. You know, CM Punk maybe doesn't have as much cred as The Rock, but in the wrestling world, he strangely does. But The Rock came back after 7 years, and you remember his finally, The Rock has come back. Dramatic pause. Home. And CM Punk like echoed that statement, like not as much panache with it as Rock had, as Dwayne The Rock Johnson had, but I'm home, right? And it hit, right? That was a baby face moment. He said, AJ's fine. She says hi, right? Like teasing that AJ Lee maybe would come back. April
Are we going to see her?
Might rejoin.
You think we'll see her?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think that's part of this. I think this is like, I don't know if she wants to come back, but I can't imagine that she wouldn't want a run. She was out of her era. She was an amazing wrestler when all they cared about was divas. And now she would fit so much better. Like if she came back now and could still go at a high level, she would be in her element. They would be equals to her as opposed to her just
Cora
clearly being the
Jade is
best.
using her her exact character already.
Gimmick. Yeah,
I think so. I think Cora Jade is AJ Lee, and I think on the competitions brand, I think Sky Blue is doing the same thing. So anyway, basically, girl with a backwards hat, you know, or maybe it's it's a continuation of Nikki Bella, you know, high socks. Yeah. It's all Nikki. It's just Nikki into AJ into Cora. Yeah, so
kind of. Well, Nikki, I mean, like AJ was kind of like goth punk, right? And Nikki was like, I'm the pretty girl who's pretending that I'm kind of punk-like. You know, it was like, it's because it's popular, so that's why I'm punk. But she was like, no, I am a
gross.
punk, and I married a punk.
That's gross.
So, but I think AJ comes back. But then at the end of the promo, Phil famously said, "I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to make money." That comment did two things. One, it set up a possible heel move right away, right? I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to make money. So he is Hollywood CM Punk. That's the NWO play. Here's the click play. What did Scott Hall famously say? I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to make money. That was his calling card for the click, which famously ran wrestling. So right in that moment, CM Punk positioned himself as the next Hollywood Hogan, which he is controversial enough to match that. And he positioned himself as maybe that was a shot towards Triple H, not in a bad way, but like a Triple H and I are now the authority here, right? Like maybe we're in line.
I didn't see that
so
angle
that comment
at all.
did
That's
wonders.
Fascinating. Interesting.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to they're going to reintroduce the $1 million championship belt, you know, and he was going to wear it.
$1 million Phil, where's the $1 million belt? One bill Phil.
Could you do you see any possibility of CM Punk becoming the leader of the Judgment Day? Like, is that lame? Is that not? I mean, is he even going to be on the same show? That's another question. Is like,
he will. Yeah, he's going to be on Raw.
Heading to, is it Raw only? And is Raw the show they're still shopping and they're looking for a buyer for? Is that it?
Let me hit that, because So this is the play, and this is where I think the real world is almost even more interesting than the soap opera with men in tights. So famously, CM Punk called himself One Bill Phil, $1 billion Phil. The relation to that comment was that the head of Warner Brothers Discovery, and I can't remember his name right now, so forgive me or drop it in the comments section.
Sure.
The head of Warner Brothers Discovery is considering doing a big deal with AEW specifically because Phil or CM Punk is worth $1 billion to them. That's the one person that they were doing that for. Now, there are already rumors that Warner Brothers Discovery are in talks through CM Punk to make a deal for WWE Raw, and AEW will be dropped.
You mean dropped as in
they won't be considered.
Okay.
Yeah, they wouldn't be on there because Warner Brothers Discovery is who their deal is through. So they would have to find a new deal. They would lose their contract because WWE famously has clauses in their contract that if we're on your network, you cannot contain any other programming that is sports entertainment wrestling related. So Phil, that is One Bill Phil, CM Punk, might have actually just nail in the coffin AEW with one move. Because if this is true, that the head of WB Discovery, Warner Brothers Discovery, is so convinced that he's One Bill Phil, he could theoretically now go, yes, we now want Raw because that's where you are. We'll sign a multi-billion-dollar deal for Raw, and we will drop AEW off of our programming. Wow, would that change the industry? CM Punk literally could have just changed the industry forever with one move, showing up on Raw. Yeah.
That's a lot to think about. I hadn't read any. This is the first time I'm hearing it. So wow.
And your face said everything.
Well, because I guess my mind is always working kind of like in story. Like, how are they going to use him? Is he going to be good or bad?
Right.
Is he gonna slow down Cody's momentum? Is he gonna somehow cut in line? And so, like, basically, as a Cody Rhodes, mark, I'm over here thinking like, oh no, what if they give Punk Cody's opportunities?
Right?
And I don't want that, but he can.
He's going to face Seth Rollins in the main event of night one. I'm calling. I called CM Punk coming back. I'm going to call back night one of WrestleMania.
Oh,
CM Punk versus Seth Rollins for the World Consolation Weight Prize championship.
You think Rollins is going to hold that title all the way till Mania in May?
I do now.
March. Wow.
I do now. Yeah. Even if it's not, but I can't imagine them not wanting that for the belt. I mean, think about, they literally delayed Cody Rhodes' story for a year just so Roman could hit some imaginary numbers, right? So why wouldn't they delay Seth Rollins another few months to face CM Punk?
And gosh, and Cody had some injuries. Cody had some obviously setbacks with the torn pec and all that,
right?
And we didn't see him for months right after
which is why that would have been so good for him to win at last WrestleMania, but whatever. Night 2 is going to be Roman Cody. Night 1 is going to be Seth versus CM Punk. I'm calling those main events right now, and I'm sticking to them.
I would love to see Punk have the title before Mania, come into Mania with the title, and Cena beat him to break the championship record that he's just been stagnant at forever, and he'll edge out Ric Flair and take that as truly as the greatest of all time. That would be so but for that to happen and for that to be credible and enjoyable, they would have to make Punk the most outrageous heel. And Cena was finally coming back to make things right. His comeuppance to quelch this guy that's out of control, right? Let him run amok. Let Punk be the Tasmanian devil and just ruin everything for everyone. Nice. And then let Cena be, kind of the real American hero, baby face, the greatest baby face the company has ever had. And to
Against this
finally
great heel.
put that evil down. It is
Right.
problem solved. And now Cena retires appropriately, adequately, and then they can go
Having done
into
it all.
yeah.
Yeah.
And now Cena puts the belt, lays the belt down in the ring. The next night on Raw
Right.
starts a new King of the Ring tournament, et cetera, et cetera.
Ooh,
You
you
know,
got
something
this. I
fun,
like
something
this
fun.
booking.
Make
It
it
is
fun
fun.
and make Punk
Yeah.
be what he is. He's a bad
Right.
guy. He's not a good guy.
controversial figure.
He's
Yeah.
he's a heel. He's
He's a
likable
heel.
as a heel. He's the heel we
Yeah.
want. He's the heel we
That's right.
need. He's the
He needs to lean
anti-hero.
into it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just be a heel, dude.
So for me, this, and I know I said it a minute ago, but this is deep. Like if you think about it, this is CM Punk becoming Hollywood Hulk Hogan. And famously, CM Punk called Hulk Hogan the worst backstage politicker, the cancer, the blah blah blah. And now everybody's calling those same words to him. And so this is his Hollywood Hogan moment where he just comes out and he says, I embrace this, right? I am a force of chaos. I am the bad guy. I am, he uses those early NWO programs, right? The way that they kind of brought in, I am the best this industry's ever seen. You call me a cancer, well, I'll be a cancer. Watch me. I've become
Yeah.
what I hated. I've become Hollywood. I mean, he's not going to refer to Hulk Hogan, but that same pathway, right? And he is Hollywood CM Punk in essence, right?
What
And
if
then
he
he is the bad
spray
guy.
painted Rollins heavyweight title with
Yeah.
CMP over it?
Or the
Like,
X, like he has the AEW title.
Oh, the
Because he
X.
still has the AEW, whatever, the one that he had with the X on it. He still has that belt. Like technically, they could do a Ric Flair moment where he comes out and says, "This is the real title right here, the
What?
real world's champion."
That's insane.
They
I would
wouldn't
love
do
it.
it. They're not going
I
to
would
acknowledge
love
AEW that
it.
way.
But I don't think Triple H is probably calculating what's best for business, and he wants things to be amicable, and he has relations on some level with the Khan family. And so I mean, gosh, that would be incredible though.
Yeah.
But like
It would
McMahon hated billionaire Ted. Like he hated Turner. And so I don't think that level of animosity is there. I just don't think it's there. I mean, it'd be great if it was, but I don't think it is.
I mean, he's called it a pissant company before, when like Billy Gunn was when they brought him in for that one special DX reunion, Hall of Fame, whatever it was,
Oh,
and he said, "Oh, you're from that pissant company over there, right?"
Ooh.
So like he's taken shots before. And certainly, let us not mistake the fact that behind the scenes, allegedly, there's been contract tampering. They've been calling up guys. And Wrestle Talk just did a special this week. You can find it on WrestleTalk.com and on their YouTube channel, where they've talked about now that CM Punk has shifted over. Cody was already there. They're seeing how big this is getting. There are legitimately people who are saying, like, I just want to be done with AEW, right? We don't know who, speculation running wild, but certainly FTR, Miro, Malachi Black, Andrade, like all these guys that got pushed off onto the Collision show with CM Punk.
They want
to come back. Yeah, and there's reason to believe that because they are now ex AEW, Triple H will go, look what we do with your roster. Cody's in the world champion.
What if that's
CM
the
Punk's
faction?
In the world champion.
What if that's CM Punk's NWO
Collision
type faction?
They call just Collision.
The guys that come back.
What
about the guys, the outsiders,
CMFTR,
if you will? That would be incredible. If
I would take that.
Aleister Black was featured prominently again.
Yeah. Rusev Day.
Oh man, like bring it all back. Bring it all back.
Andrade, he's married to Charlotte Flair in real life. He wants back there.
Andrade's the one that I'm least excited about, only because Santos Escobar is the new Andrade and doing exactly what Andrade would be doing if he was still in the program.
Right. No, but I love this. Like, even if they just flat went with the name NWO, I know that's lack of creative or whatever. Collision, I think, would be hilarious. I think they'd get sued, but whatever. But yeah, if you had CM Punk, FTR, Andrade, Miro, and Aleister Black, and they are the new like NWO style
Let,
faction.
let me remind you of the last time CM Punk was in the WWE.
Yeah.
He brought up 3 enforcers known as the Shield. CM Punk called up, right? For his hitman were Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and Dean Ambrose.
Yeah, John Moxley.
Those were the 3 NXT call-ups that dealt with Cena and put him through tables.
Right.
And they were Punk's hitmen. How incredible would it be to see Punk's hitmen out of nowhere come and ransack, take the WWE by storm the way the Shield did? And it be Aleister Black, Rusev. I mean, maybe they
FTR.
Do they keep their names? Do they just keep?
Well, they get their original back.
Or
no, right now would they want Malachi and?
Would you want Rusev? Would you want the Bulgarian Brute back, or would you want who he really is just to be his real name? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know how trademark works on that. I mean, John Cena is a trademark of WWE. Literally, his name is owned by WWE. Right. So there's no telling if Miro, that's his real name, is owned by Tony Khan now. I would.
What if they show up in black cargo pants and SWAT team gear?
Yeah.
What if they're called the Shield?
Sound?
What if they're just called the
hilarious.
Shield? The Shield.
And they come against Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns.
And just like that would be living just the fire out of them and throw them through tables.
That would be awesome.
Come on. Somebody out there in creative has got to be hearing this or thinking these things. Last time Punk, he brought back this faction that took basically the entire company hostage because of how dominant they were. Let's do it again.
NWO Shield led by Punk. I am in, and I think this could be billion-dollar television. So congratulations on getting your deal with Warner Brothers Discovery, bankrupting AEW just by bringing over CM Punk.
No doubt.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
If you use any of these ideas, WWE, I just would ask that you would send me a men's 3XL t-shirt so that I could support what you're doing.
One t-shirt.
That's all I require. One t-shirt. One tee. And I'm good. I'm good. I don't need it. I don't need
That's official. That's on record right now.
I don't need millions of dollars. I do this as a hobby. I do it for the love of the game,
Oh, well, bud, that's a little low of a score, a little bit of a price. Well, everybody's got a price, and it's one 3XL t-shirt. I think
maybe even a 4X. So I can sleep in it. Be like my cozy shirt, Why don't you take us out, Lee? I'm gonna mute.
That's right.
I've said it all.
Hey, our crazy booking ideas aside, I just want to say I officially love everybody in this community. You guys are awesome. Go smash gyms together, watch wrestling, enjoy ourselves, because this is a fun community with an amazingly weird thing to bond around. And we'll see you next time.